Good afternoon, everyone. It's time to call this budget workshop and special call board meeting of the San Felipe Del Oro CISD Board of Trustees, the day being Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Mr. Secretary, would you call roll?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Luna Chavez,
Present.
Mr. Almaraz, Mr. Overfelt, Mr. Mesa,
Okay, here. Mr. Almaraz is running late. Mr. Orfeld won't be here.
Mrs. Webb,
Present.
Mrs. Haynes.
She's coming in late.
Sir, you do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting was duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time we'll have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Again, we have a budget workshop, and then we'll have a special call board meeting. First item we have is budget workshop, item 3 on the agenda, 2025-2026 revenues and expenditures. Amy Chokers.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, I present to you a second look at our budget interactive workbook for the 2025-26 school year. You do have a copy there in your binders, as well as a USB to take with you of the workbook that I'm presenting this evening. The first tab we will start with is our general pay increase information. Again, this evening I'm presenting 3 models, a 2%, 3%, and 4% increase. We'll walk through it line by line. The first one is on our teacher pay scale. So as we know, or as we now know, from House Bill 2 allots for a $2,500 increase to teachers with 3 to 4 years, and a $5,000 increase to teachers with 5 or more years. So we have, that is going to be the same on all 3 models that I show you. On the 0 to 2 years, the state is not providing any allotment. So we are looking at a 2% for teachers with 0 to 2 years experience. It's 2% to our teacher pay scale midpoint, which equals $1,286.30. For our non-teachers that are on our current teacher pay scale, and also in your workbook, you have a piece of paper that shows the different positions that are listed under each type of pay type. So these would be your ARD facilitators, your dyslexia reading interventionists, your positive behavior interventionist, support liaison, your curriculum support specialist, and the athletic trainer assistants. Those we have with a 2% increase, again, they're on the teacher's pay plan, so they would get the 2% to the teacher midpoint. So they would also get the $1,286.30. Those with 3 to 4 years would get $2,500. And those with 5 or more years would receive $5,000. For your administrative professionals, those with 0 to 2 years, we applied the same 2% increase to their midpoint scales. Those with 3 to 4 years would also the 4% to their midpoint pay ranges. And those with 5 years or more, an 8% increase to their midpoint pay ranges. For the paraprofessionals, a 2% pay increase for 0 to 2 years to their pay range, midpoint pay range. Again, 3 to 4 years, a 4% increase to their midpoint. And 5+ years, an 8% to their midpoint. And then also for auxiliary, same thing, a 2% for 0 to 2 years, a 4% for 3 to 4 years, and an 8% for 5+ years. In doing so, the total costs for this estimate model would be $5,190,059. For the second model, it would be a 3% general pay increase to teachers with 0 to 2 years experience, which would be $1,929.45. Again, for the teachers 3 to 4 years, it would be the $2,500. And for the 5+ years, it would be $5,000. For those that are on the teacher pay plan but are not teachers, again, a 3% for 0 to 2 years, a 4%, it equates to a 4% of the teacher midpoint for 3 to 4 years, which is the $2,500. And then for those with 5+ years, it equates to an 8% to the teacher plan midpoint of the $5,000. For administrative professionals, 0 to 2 years, again, the 3% to their pay range midpoint. For 3 to 4 years, a 4%. And those with 5 or more would an 8% to their midpoint pay range. See, paraprofessionals, the 3% to their pay range midpoint for 0 to 2 years, a 4% for 3 to 4 years, and an 8% for 5+ years. And then also for our auxiliary, 3% for 0 to 2 years, a 4% for 3 to 4 years, and an 8% for the 5+ years. This estimate would be a cost to the district of $5,300,357. And then the last estimate I have would be a 4% increase. Again, it would be a 4% increase for teachers, 0 to 2 years would equate to $2,500. Again, the 4% for 3 to 4 years is $2,500. And for teachers with 5+ years, the $5,000, which equates to an 8% to the teacher midpoint. The teacher pay plan for the non-teachers, same thing, 4% for the 0 to 2 years. The $2,500, which equates to a 4% for the 3 to 4 years. And the $5,000, which equates to an 8% for those with 5+ years. Administrative professionals, a 4% for those at 0 to 2 years, a 4% for those at 3 to 4 years, and an 8% for those with 5+ years. Paraprofessionals, again, a 4% general pay increase to their midpoint for those with 0 to 2 years, a 4% for those at 3 to 4 years, and an 8% to their midpoint for those at 5+ years. And then also for our auxiliary or hourly, a 4% for those for 0 to 2 years, a 4% for those with 3 to 4 years, and an 8% for those with 5+ years. This estimate would be a cost to the district of $5,406,662. Those are the 3 models that we have at this time.
Questions from board members? Mr. Galindo?
Just two things. Thank you for the presentation, Amy. But I do have a question on the third row, teacher pay plan, non-teachers for the 4% general pay. And then if you can just help me understand, why is that one 1286 for a higher percentage? And then the 3% is 1929 is more for the lower percentage?
I'm sorry, that's
So
mine.
right there, the 4%?
Yes, that's
It's
mine.
1286, and then if you go to the left for the 3%, it's 1929. So how is that?
I apologize. It should be, that's my mistake. It's the 2,500. It'll be 2,500 for the 4% for the 0 to 2 years on the non-teacher, sorry.
Okay, so that would be,
Yes,
okay.
here, yes, I only have one that falls
Okay.
under that category.
It just caught me off guard because I was like, shouldn't it
Yes,
be a little bit
sorry.
more?
Just, yes,
And it's a
it'll be
reg-
2,500.
Does the record show that we do have Amy Haynes on board? Thank you.
And
And Mr. Diego Almaraz. Welcome.
And secondly, I just think it would be beneficial if we can get a chance to get an explanation as to how House Bill 2 tiered out these so it's understood, why there's a 4% or how much is, why this is tiered out at 2,500 or 5,000. That way it's understood how that came out to get a general explanation if possible, sir.
Dr. Rios?
Yeah, to provide that explanation, can you go to the slide you created? Yes, ma'am, that one. And just expand it in slide view so that we can see the bigger. Okay. Mr. Mesa, members of the board, House Bill 2, which was signed by the governor, now it's law, it clearly articulated that for teachers with 0 to 2 years experience, there was no money provided for their pay raise, 0. Then for teachers with 3 to 4 years, the state of Texas provided $2,500. So then we said, okay, what is $2,500 to the teacher midpoint? Because every time that we had TASB do the salary study, they would provide for the salaries to the midpoint. So based on those previous practices, $2,500 to the teacher midpoint comes out to a 4% raise from the midpoint. So then that's a baseline that we use, 4%, for anybody who has between 3 and 4 years of experience. Okay, and then TASB said for anybody with 5 or more years, they get $5,000. So any teacher, regardless of their experience, would get $5,000. So then $5,000 to the teacher midpoint is 8% increase. So then we applied the same logic to everybody else who worked 3 and 4 years and 5 years or more would get 8% to the midpoint. Not to their salary, but to the midpoint. Okay? That's the logic that we applied. So we extended what the state said and we applied it to every job, every pay grade. So then we feel that we still want to provide options for teachers who are, for teachers and for all employees who are in 1 to 2 years. So that's why if you go back, Amy, to the previous, to the pay grade. So if you look at the very first line on top, you can see that the very first line across all 3 pays provides a 2%, 3%, and 4% increase. So where the state did not provide any money, we are asking for your input for those individuals. Should it be a 2%, 3%, or 4%? It's difficult, but the minimum raise the state is giving teachers with 3 and 4 years is 4%. That's why we think that the far right-hand column is more equitable, even though it was the state's intention to differentiate the pay for teachers who have been in the classroom longer than 2 years. But then that logic applies to bus drivers, to cafeteria workers, to everybody. That's why we're trying to be consistent with the practices of the state to all other pay grades and job descriptions. Okay. I don't know if that explains it, sir.
No, sir, definitely, it does explain, we just wanted to make sure to get that information out as to seeing the different tiers. In case there's any questions, well, how does the 3 to 4 work and the 5? That way it shows how the House bill actually outlined those amounts and so forth, and how those amounts were obtained to be put in this table. So thank you for that explanation, Dr. Rios.
But we want to be clear, the state provided the money and only stipulated the $2,500 and the $5,000 for the teachers in those years of experience. We extrapolated a percent, and then we applied it to every other position, which was a 4% and 8%.
Anyone else with a question? I have a couple of questions, and maybe I'll turn it back over to other board members. I know in the past we've had Mike Morath give us his logic behind this model of payment. He says normally the teachers from 0 to 3 have very little growth, and so it's dependent on the growth that you have, but the model's pretty much the same. Now, what I would like to know is the percentage of teachers that have 0 to 3, and then 4 to 5, and then 5 and above. Just a percentage. And the other part of Commissioner Mike Morath's presentation to TASB directors was that they're pumping more money into the teacher incentive allotment, which will add another category, which will be acknowledged. So there'll be 4 categories now. Let's see. There's recognize, exemplary, and masters, and now there will be acknowledged. So those teachers that show some growth, even though they might be between 0 and 3, will now be able to get some of the teacher incentive allotment. And I'm glad that we're in it, because a lot of times when they ask how many of you, the last session that I went to, San Angelo, there were only 2 hands that went up, and mine was 1. So a lot of people have not gotten to that point yet of allowing the teacher incentive allotment. But keep that in mind, that there will be another category, which is the acknowledged, for those teachers that make some gains above the standard raises in salary. So if I could get those
Yes, sir.
later on.
Yes,
It
sir.
does-
I have
I just
those counts.
need to see, again, what I compare is every time we have a teacher retirement ceremony, I look at the teachers that have 30 years and above, and I'm thinking, wow, we're losing a lot of years of experience. But there comes a point where 30 and 40 years is a long time. We've recognized that some of these people are ready for retirement. But I would like to just kind of compare and see what we have from those 3 different areas: 0 to 3, and then 3 to 5, and then 5 and above.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? I'll turn it over to anyone else. Okay, we'll go on.
Yes, sir. For the purpose of tonight's presentation, just so you know, for the workbook, we are selecting the first model, which is the 2% increase for those with the 0 to 2 years. The next tab we have is our personnel. And again, we have some options here that when you are working on your workbook, we have adding the music and art positions back to the budget. That's a choice you could make. Those would be 6 positions, and it would total $443,024. Adding 3 librarians back to the budget would be a cost of $242,917. The addition of a deputy superintendent position would be $182,248. Then the 2024-25 district reorganization, the changes that we made for this current year's budget still has some savings that will carry over to the 25-26, and it would be in the amount of $314,373. The addition of a dean of instruction at Del Rio Middle School position would be $84,272. And then we have 2 elementary counselors that are currently on the OASIS grant. The grant covers half of their tuition, the district covers the other half. They will be edging out of that grant, and so the district has to pick up that other half of the cost for this coming year, and it would be a cost to us of $77,268. Again, for the purpose of this evening's, the items that we have checked yes are the deputy superintendent position, the district reorganization, the dean of instruction, and the 2 elementary counselors. So it will be adding $658,161 to our general fund budget. Questions here?
Amy,
Yes.
I have a question. For the district reorganizations, that's shown as an expense.
Savings, yeah.
It
that's
should be a
correct.
savings.
Well, no, because I added those positions that we added this year, the 24, 25, like the new chief and those, and so it took my savings away.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay,
The security guards and things like that that we added this year.
okay.
So that's a credential.
So it'll be a cost.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right. The next tab we have is the insurance contribution. Currently, the district pays $474.49 monthly for each employee. We do not, currently we are estimating a maximum of 9.5% increase, which would begin in January. However, due to us moving from the self-funded to the Blue Cross Blue Shield, we still have some savings from the current year. So it'd actually be a savings to us of about $360,400 for this year's budget, even with the possible increase in the contribution. The next tab I have is for committed projects. Now, these are projects that would not be part of the general fund balance. They would be, we would use our unrestricted fund balance for these. These are the items, most of these items are the items that Mr. Chapa presented under the sustainability originally. We have the Del Rio Middle School parking lot would be $1,105,000. We have the middle school turfs at the new Garfield Middle School and the San Felipe Memorial Middle School. We have HVAC repairs at Garfield Elementary and Del Rio High School. I'm sorry, the turf would be estimated $650,000. HVAC repairs at Garfield, $150,000. HVAC repairs at Del Rio High School, $70,000. We also have HVAC repairs replacement at Cardwell, an estimated $30,000. HVAC repairs at Ruben Chavita for an estimated $35,000. HVAC repairs at Lonnie Green for $5,000. HVAC repairs at Dr. Fermin Calderon for $20,000. We also have the option of replacing the stadium lights at Del Rio High School. That would be a cost of $810,000. Updating or replacing the old gym floor at Del Rio High School would be a cost of $200,000. Furniture replacement at San Felipe Memorial Middle School, $60,000. We also have the asphalt replacement at the warehouse for $100,000. Interior painting at Garfield, Garfield Middle School now, at $120,000. Interior painting at Lamar, $90,000. Exterior painting at Buena Vista would be $60,000. Exterior painting at Lamar Elementary would be $55,000. Maintenance department is asking for, I believe it's 3 used service vehicles for $150,000. The police department, they're looking, I believe, for 2 fully outfitted vehicles for $95,500. Warehouse is also in need of some delivery vehicles, 2 used for $100,000. We have the fencing at Blended Academy for $143,070. Fencing at Buena Vista for $309,150. Roof repairs at Del Rio High School for $375,000. The retention pond at the old Garfield, $80,000. Campus metal detectors throughout the district, $195,262. And then we have the MDF HVAC and the technology in the server rooms for $15,000. We also have some E-rate projects that we can receive some E-rate funding for, and our contribution would be $60,000. And then also a district computer refresh would be an estimated $500,000. So altogether, those total $5,582,982.
Dr. Reyes?
Mr. Mesa, board members, our goal is to produce a balanced budget for the board to approve and ensure that the board has an opportunity to provide whatever raise they want to provide. But we're not going to be able to provide a balanced budget if we allocate some of the committed projects, some of the items listed on the committed projects. So because we know that our current excess fund balance is about $6 million, and we know that we are receiving money from the wind farm, both the settlement and the additional state aid that we didn't get in the previous years, we expect that we would add an additional $5 million to fund balance. So if we were comfortable this past year with $6 million and we add another $5 million, we were hoping to ask the board for their input on which of these projects we should fund out of fund balance so that we could give, so we could have every opportunity on the recurrent expenses to have a balanced budget. So I'm not saying that the board should spend up to $5 million, but I think that you certainly have that opportunity. And we can also not spend the money immediately all at once, but instead throughout the year as some of this expected aid comes in. That's why we moved everything that Mr. Chapa presented to the projects that we would fund with excess fund balance, which is our savings. Now, before next month, we are going to recommend some things. For example, we should always take advantage of the E-rate funding, and it's only $60,000. So we as administration would recommend that be a yes. We are in serious need of some vehicles, both from the police department and from the operations side of the house. So we would recommend a yes on that. But everywhere else, that's really up to the board. And we've already committed the parking lot. We've already committed the middle school turf. The only reason the middle school turf is on this sheet is because it's not going to get completed by the end of June when we finish the budget. But anyhow, that's the logic between creating these out of fund balance so that we can produce a balanced budget.
Okay. Yeah. I'll turn it over to board members, but I have a couple of questions. One, yeah, the middle school parking lot. We are committed with that with Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes.
Because it's going to be downsized quite a bit. Remember, we talked, the priority was that it's such a far distance, no handicap zones for people attending football games and so forth. But as far as the immediate priority, that has changed quite a bit because of the reorganizations of the middle school, one. And then I don't see any revenues yet from the additional certifications from CTE students.
Oh, the bonus, yes, sir. That's all Amy will go over
Later on?
where that's at in this project.
Okay.
Okay, but however, Mr. President, just pushing back a little bit, as far as the parking that the commissioner is doing for us, remember that parking is primarily for after-school activities. So all three middle schools would still use the stadium there for their track meets and their football games. So that part's not going to get downsized any.
Okay.
Now, we might save some if Mr. Chapa doesn't spend all the money on asphalt, but I don't know how much it would be saved. It would. So.
Okay, just to keep in mind.
Yes, sir.
You know, before it was an immediate, like, we needed it. bad, but now it's gonna change a little bit. Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Wood?
I just have a question, Dr. Rios. How about the HVAC for the campuses that's listed on here? Are we in need of repairs on any of them or replacements on any of them?
Yes, ma'am, but rather than, I'd rather that Mr. Chapa speak to that. Now, I will tell you that everything that we listed on here, he already prioritized that part. And it's not that it's an immediate, but we should set some money aside because this is the oldest equipment that we have. And we just have to anticipate, either we have the money to repair it when it breaks, or we in advance begin to make those repairs so that it doesn't break with us anytime within the next 12 to 24 months, which, because it has exceeded its life expectancy, we expect that these are the next items that'll break.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? We're good.
So that brings us to our recap. And so for our revenue, we are looking at, for our local revenue, $22,401,914. For our state funding, so we will be receiving about $83,039,140, and that is based on the House Bill 2, all the new allotments, the certifications Mr. Mesa mentioned. That's about $5 million more than what current law would have provided. But overall, our state funding will be $87,789,140. Our federal will be $1,200,000 for a total projected revenue of $111,391,054. For expenditures, again, this the general pay increase is the first estimate I provided, the 2%, the reduction in salaries, and the health insurance contribution decrease for a total of $91,053,834. Our campus budgets, $808,814. Our departmental budgets, $7,452,175. Our operations budgets, $4,756,305. Our state program budgets, $4,095,211. Our student program budgets, $1,900,039. And then this is the maintenance agreement we have with Schneider, the $1,324,675 for a total projected expenditures of $111,391,054. That would bring us to a balanced budget, projected balanced budget.
Questions, Dr. Rios?
Amy worked really hard at balancing the budget based on the conversations that we've had. So we have to keep in mind that anything that is not on the committed funds, so for example, if you choose a higher pay increase for the all employees in 0 to 2 years, all of that begins to create a deficit. Now, we will work very hard over the next 10 days, 15 work days, which is 3 weeks, to try to see what other savings opportunities there are so that we can still balance the budget. It's just that every time we add to the budget, we have to cut somewhere. And that's where the work comes in. We're still scrubbing the list for employees. So for example, by reducing one elementary, we still have employees that are going to continue to fill some vacancies. That's still a potential savings. We just haven't had all that opportunity yet with vacancies. But we'll continue to work to see what savings we can identify, because any item you pick on here creates a deficit. Okay.
So where are the bonuses again on the revenue?
The ones from the students getting their
Yes.
associate's degree and their CT certifications?
Yes.
So all of that, is on the proposed budget. It's on line 15.
We-
I don't have it broken up per a lot. I can provide that to you the best I can, but it's all
They're not seeing the lines, Amy, so you have to highlight it there.
the $79,172,440. That's what we will receive from the state based on House Bill 2 allotments.
How much more was it this year than last year, Amy?
It would be it's about $5 million more than what we would have received under what was the current law?
No, the bonuses, the student outcome bonuses,
Oh, that we received for '23, we received about $80,000 extra.
80,000, which brought the total to,
I think it was 380. And it was right around under 300 the last.
380,000?
yes, sir. And that's for students who get their associate's degree and students who get level 1 certifications.
Okay. Any other projected revenue that you know?
Not at this time, like I said, they're just, yesterday I got the first template with the House Bill 2. So, it all depend on our ADA and our counts. I
Well,
work on it every day.
I'm talking outside of state and federal.
Other than the wind farm, state aid, the wind
Well,
farm.
Yeah, but we had heard about pipeline coming in and nothing in regard to that.
I haven't heard of anything. I could get with Ms. Casanova on that, but
Okay,
of Alberta County Appraisal District.
okay. Anyone else? Mr. Almaraz?
Just really quick on the wind farm and the additional state aid. When should we expect that, or when do we anticipate that?
We do audits through the attorneys every year. And it usually takes, from the time it's filed, it usually takes about 6 months. So for example, we just received feedback on an audit that we filed 6 months ago. I think we received it about 2 weeks ago, and that was 280,000 maybe.
820,000.
I'm sorry,
From the
I-
2022.
I had the right numbers, I just had them in the wrong order,
Changes a
820,000.
lot.
But that was from about 6 months ago. It was filed sometime.
Around November?
Yeah, but this last one, the attorney filed it about, what, 2 weeks ago, a week ago?
Yes, we heard from the comptroller. Mhm.
Yeah, so it'll be 6 months from now, October, November.
And that'll go directly into the excess fund balance?
That, it would just go into our general fund, which would become excess fund balance after the audit.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I do.
Mr. Olinda?
Ms. Amy, going back to the insurance premiums, and you're estimating the 9.5% increase, is that preparing for the worst and hoping for the best? Because it's looking, just looking at the numbers right off the bat, it's a $451,000 increase, but could that increase come down to still apply for some more savings?
Yes, sir. When we signed the contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they guaranteed us a maximum increase of 9.5% for the renewal year. So that's worst-case scenario. I think that it's going to be pretty close to that because that's their opportunity and it's allowed in contract. I would be surprised if they were any kinder to us, but it's a maximum increase. So I think it'll come pretty close to it. Yeah. I'd be surprised if they said, hey, we're going to continue with the same rate for the next year.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, I was like, well, maybe there's something there, because looking at saying estimated the 9.5, but, say it was, and I get what you're saying, but if we were to get a 7 or an 8, it could change and maybe really cut that deficit of what's
Yes.
estimated based on the different increases. So it's just a food for thought, hopeful, but
And this is still just a proposed, it's a work in process, so I'll keep presenting when I get numbers.
thank you.
But Ms. Childress, we have to budget for that because we won't have their cost for the 26 year until when, November?
Well, we start early enrollment in October, so I would say it'll be August, September before we have a final rate.
Yeah.
So you still got to prepare.
Yeah, and we would approve the budget by then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We're good. Well, thank you very much, and I'm glad
Thank
you
you.
provided all the information that we have, and we'll be calling for questions.
And again, you do have a USB with this on there, so you can make your
Great.
choices and send it back to me, and so that I can share.
Will do. Dr. Rios?
I want to make sure, Mr. Mesa, that all of us look at the proposed salary increases, because usually we have TASB come and they show us different percentages, and the board has different scenarios. Now, because of House Bill 2, we really don't have a choice in the teacher salaries, and we applied that same logic everywhere else. But I want to make it clear, that's just us applying that logic everywhere else. And if there's any thought between now and the next meeting, please don't hesitate to email us, call us, so that we can generate other estimates if you have other ideas. It's just in the past, when we do a pay increase, we do it to the midpoint of everybody. That's why we use that same logic that was provided in House Bill 2 and applied it across the board. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, we'll close this budget workshop and go into our regular meeting, special call meeting. The only item we have is item 16, Human Resources. Item 16, consideration to approve a new LSSP position. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. At this time, administration is asking to add a licensed specialist in school psychology position for the special education department.
Okay. Now, Dr. Rios, you want to explain? We already have one.
Yes, sir. We have a licensed specialist in school psychology. However, because of the number of assessments, every year we contract to have all the other assessments covered. And we spend as much or more money in paying for the contracted services as we would by adding a position. The board approved this same position last year, except that the person that applied for the job, the only person that applied for the job and that was recommended and approved from the board, did not take the position. Now, again, this year, we possibly have somebody that would be interested, one person. So we want to, again, try to capitalize on that and maybe have a little bit of savings.
Okay. Is this in conjunction to the rating that we get for services for special ed and the time limit that they have to provide the services?
Yes, sir. We have X amount of days to complete the testing of the students. But I want to be clear, we can still meet that requirement by hiring consultants to do the testing. It's just better if we have it in-house, because now we're not dependent on a consultant to come in from San Antonio or wherever they may be. We would have one in-house.
Okay. Well, I'll have some questions for you. Okay. I'll save the questions for later on. Anyone else? Mr. Almaraz?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, we are going to post this, right? Because you said there's one person that was interested in this, but I want to make sure.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
Okay.
if there's more people that are interested, yeah, that'd be great.
But there's one that's,
Yeah.
that has asked about it, or,
Yeah. Jane, can you come to the podium? Isn't there somebody that moved in from out of town due to the military or something like that? Yes, sir. Yeah, explain that.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Yes, we have someone that is part of the contracting services that is interested in the position.
Okay,
Moved
so this
into
is somebody
town.
that's already been doing it for us?
Right.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be a commitment to staying a certain length of time?
I don't
Like-
know them.
A contract for a year?
I don't know that we have that as part of.
Yeah, they would, I'd have to look at the contract, whether it's a Chapter 21 or non-Chapter 21, just to depend on what their commitment is.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
We're approving the position, not the person yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Anyone else? Good. Recommendation?
Okay, thank you.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve a new position of licensed specialist in school psychology for the Special Education Department as presented.
Heard the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Almaraz, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 16B, consideration to approve the updated 2024-2025 district compensation plans. Amy Childers.
Good evening. This evening, we have two updates to our compensation plan. The first is on page 6, and it's the addition of the licensed specialist in school psychology to the administrative professional pay plan, pay grade 4, at 202 days. The other item we have is on page 10. It's for bus driver training. So we have a couple of bus drivers. We have an agreement to train that we will send bus drivers to get their certification, their training, and we would like to start them in July to start the training so that they will be ready to start contracts in August. And we would like to start that rate will be $15 an hour to bring them in and do that.
Questions for Amy?
I do.
Mr. Galindo?
On the bus driver training, that's great. My question is, have we not been doing this before? Is this the first time we've ever offered training, or were they not getting compensated for training? How did that work? Because just to get insight on that.
We did have this approved by the board this last semester, but this is extra duty. Their contract wouldn't start until the school year starts. And we're trying to get them trained over the summer, but they're really not working for us right now. So we want to pay them extra duty so they can go through the training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the updated 2024-2025 district compensation plans as presented.
Thank you very much. There's a motion made by Amy Haynes. Is there a second to the motion? Mr. Almaraz, all those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
There being no other items on the agenda, we're coming to item 16, closed session pursuant to 551.074 and 551.071. We will be going into closed session. If an action item is required, it will be taken upon reconvening into open session. We're now in closed session. The time is 5:48 p.m. We're now in closed session.
House Bill 2 passed.
Okay, the time is 7:07 PM. We're reconvening into open session. We're down to item 20 on the agenda. Item 20A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the retirements, resignations, vacancies, and following new personnel: Nancy Garza, pre-kindergarten teacher at Irene Cardwell Elementary; Carol Montalvo, pre-kindergarten bilingual teacher at Irene Cardwell Elementary; Destiny Rivera, second grade teacher at Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary; Roberto Martinez, special education co-teacher at San Felipe Memorial Middle School; and Liana Escareno, assistant athletic trainer at Del Rio Middle School.
For the recommendation from administration, is there a motion? Motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item B, consideration to approve the position of Dean of Instruction for Del Rio Middle School. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Jessica Voss for Dean of Instruction at Del Rio Middle School.
Any questions for Amy? If not, I'll ask for a motion. Motion by Mr. Almaraz, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item C, consideration to approve the position of Transportation Coordinator. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Ricardo Torres for Transportation Coordinator at the Transportation Department.
For the recommendation, motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Mr. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Item D, consideration to approve the position of CTE Assistant Principal. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Jessica Guanajuato for Assistant Principal at Career and Technical Education Center.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion? Motion made by Becky Chavez. Is there a second to the motion? Amy Haynes. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 1 abstention. Okay, for the record, again, Mrs. Webb abstained. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Item E, consideration to approve the position of librarian. Amy Childress.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve Lynette Rodriguez for librarian at Ruben Chavita Elementary.
Heard the recommendation. Motion made by Ms. Amy Haynes, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item F, consideration to approve the position of vice principal at Del Rio Freshman School. Amy Childress.
Mr. Mesa, we did hold interviews for the position. We do have a recommendation. However, the job has not posted for the required 10 days. Therefore, we will ask the board to table it until the June meeting.
Okay. Okay, so this, this item will be tabled. Any questions from board members? Dr. Rios?
Mr. Mesa, because we're in summer planning, master scheduling, hiring teachers, I will assign an interim to act as freshman campus vice principal between now and the next board meeting.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Rios, Dr. Rios? No? Okay, we're good with that. Okay, there being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Motion made by Mr. Webb, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everyone.